Hello and welcome to another edition of the Fireside Chat series. Wright, your host. In the last movement in Ghana to revitalize the agricultural sector, both by government and private entities. The government launched its flagship initiative, Planting for Food and Jobs, which has been welcomed and highly rated by many. On the private sector, the youth has accepted the challenge and are using modern technology to boost the sector in ways that we haven't seen before. One of the leading players in this new way of farming is a company called GrowForMe. By the CEO of GrowForMe, Nana Agyemang Prempeh, and Kwame. Kwame, I'm sorry, I think you joined me. Let me make sure I have your information here. Kwame Beko is the advisor and co-founder of GrowForMe, and we're happy that he's joined us. We had the sales manager Lorraine who couldn't join us today, so Kwame was gracious enough to step in. So, gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Fred.
Thank you, Fred. Thanks.
You're welcome. GrowForMe is a Ghanaian-founded web-based agricultural crowdfunding platform that funds farmers to scale and grow more crops using income received from sponsors or investors, essentially addressing the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals 1 and 2, which is creating wealth and contributing to food stability in Ghana and Africa as a whole. Gentlemen, again, before we get started, I want to show a quick video of what this platform does, and then Kwame, you can give us a brief overview of what the company does. So please allow me to show this quick video, and then we'll get started.
My name is Nana from GrowForMe, and our vision is to make food affordable and accessible to all. So Africa is going to have 2.5 billion people by 2050, yet we still struggle to feed our 1.6 billion people. And to us, the problem is simply because there's lack of investment for farmers to expand their farms. And most of the farmers now are actually aging, and the young guys who are supposed to take after them are leaving the villages where the farms are into the cities to do menial tasks. This means that there's going to be less food produced, it's going to be expensive, and everybody's not going to get some. So how do we solve this at GrowForMe? We solve this by finding sponsors. Sponsors are people who are passionate about agriculture. They wish they could be farming and wish they could be involved, but they don't have the skill or the time, but have the money. So we take their money, give it to farmers who are actually farming and are expanding and recruiting more people, and we give them deeper agronomy advice using satellite images and also extension offices. On successful cultivation of the crop and harvest, we buy it and sell it on the commodity exchange or the open market and make a profit. Then we give the sponsor back its principal and then share the profit. The sponsor gets 50% of the profit, we get 15%, and the farmer gets 35% of the profit with an expanded farm. So what's GrowForMe? GrowForMe is simply a web and mobile-based crowd farming and crowdfunding platform that makes it possible for you to sponsor a farm, monetize progress, and make profit when we sell it. Monitoring is done through satellite images provided by Opoku, and I just want to show you how the platform works. It's quite simple. So from our website, you can click on Start Farming, and then you can see the different crops. Let's sponsor pineapple. Here you can sign up with your social media handle, and then you can pick the crop you want, pineapple. Give it a name, indicate the number of units you want to do. 8 units makes an acre. See the cost. You can see the profit margin you can get after harvest. Then you can go ahead and make payment. When you pay with your card details, the farm is created, and you can see details of what's happening. You can see the stage in which the farm is in. Here you can see the mulching state, how it looks like. And then you can actually go ahead and also see more details of the farm, like the crop itself, where it's located, and the number of units. And then you can also go ahead and see the location and farm recommendations that have been provided by Rural Farmers Hub, farm recommendations and weather information. And we met Rural Farmers Hub in the program. Then through App 42, you're able to find the latest satellite images and see what's really happening on the farm on a very current basis. Just how simple the platform works. So how do we make money? Make money whenever you sponsor a farm through a service charge, and then renting of land and tools, we make some extra. Most importantly, when we trade our commodities, we make money. And finally, with time, we're going to have so much data that decision makers will want this data and we would sell it. So how we get customers are primarily for sponsors through online advertising on LinkedIn, Facebook. And how we get farmers is by partnering organizations like GIZ and USAID, who have large farmer bases, working with them. And for off-takers, we simply work with individuals or corporations that take off large quantities of our produce. So the market is about 2.6 billion, but when we look at the investable farms and what we are doing, we are looking at a turnable market of $500 million. We're going to do a 9-month POC where we are looking at partnering at 42G Ghana Commodity Exchange and GIZ to expand our offering to farmers producing soya, maize, and sorghum. And in that POC, Churchill Tractors will be providing tractor services and well cover insurance cover for our sponsors. And in that 9-month POC, we'll be funding $200,000 worth of farming and 500 farmers and trade over $500,000 worth of commodities on the commodity exchange. It's exciting to know that when we started this program recently, just this Sunday, we started raising for soya and maize. And from last Sunday till now, we've raised $4,000 already. And we have sponsored 3 farmers, and we've earmarked $1,000 to trade. And I'm so excited about such progress within a short time, Sunday till now. So in 5 years, in R42, we are going to actually use it much more deeper in the POC phase to basically get deeper crop analysis like soil moisture content, chlorophyll index, basically to help our farmers be more successful with more information. And in 5 years, we're going to be spending about $251,000 on satellite images and algorithms around on the platform. And we would sponsor over $2.5 million worth of farms to 8,000 plus acres and to over 4,000 plus farmers, which would create over 21,000 plus jobs, assuming each farmer recruits about 5 people to basically help him expand his farm. So this company is possible because of the amazing team. Myself, Nana, I have a background in machine systems, agric engineering. For my MPhil, Chief Agronomist Francis has a master's in soil and water engineering. Our corporate strategies Ghana party brings business across the world. And Godfred, our CTO, actually has skills in building applications at scale. Our board is made up of amazing Professor Bani, who has 25 plus years in post-harvest losses, Barbara Kwashiga, an astute entrepreneur who understands how governments engage with the agriculture sectors, and Professor Irene, who has 25 plus years in agribusiness and understands how the value chain works. So join us at GrowForMe, make food affordable and accessible to all by sponsoring a farm today. I can't wait to see you. Thank you.
Okay, excellent, gentlemen. That was a good overview of what GrowForMe does, and the video is long enough to give us a chance to allow other people to join us. So, Kwame, thank you for giving us that video. So now you tell us a bit about what led you to the company.
Yeah, so basically, 4 co-founders, myself, Kwame, and Francis, believed that there was a great opportunity to, create impact in this continent. Prior to starting this company, we had done a trip from Ghana to Nigeria on bamboo bicycles, and we had explored the countryside of 4 countries, and we did that trip on bicycles over a span of 5 days, and it was epic. In that trip, we're trying to raise funds to help basically an orphanage. And at the same time, we're trying to understand really if the idea and the news we hear that Africa has a vast arable land is really true. And we were amazed at what we saw. Prior to that, Kwame and Francis had already started a farm. So we explored the idea of crowdfunding to grow more on their farm. And we saw it was a very viable business model that was going to enable farmers expand, grow more, and be more productive. So based on that, we basically started GrowForMe, and within 6 months, the video you showed just 4,000. That was just 3 days into the business. Actually, 3 days into the business. But now, from July that last year to now, we've raised over $80,000, and it's quite amazing what we've been able to do within a short time. So, yes, what motivated us was the fact that there was a need. Farmers needed financing to grow more. There was financing from people who wanted to get involved in agriculture but lacked the platform to do so. And we had the skills, the team, and the network to build it, and that's why we did it.
Excellent. Excellent. Kwame, would you want to add some about yourself, your background, and what led you to this business?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. And thank you so much, Fred, for this opportunity. It's wonderful. So really, I
Thank
was
you.
born and bred in the UK, actually. I was born in London. And, like many of my friends and, colleagues who are based in the UK, we all had the intentions to be able to invest back home in Ghana, in Africa, and do something, sort of to support socioeconomic development in our countries. And agriculture is one of the areas I've seen is typically one of those areas that people like to get involved in. Because, as Africans, many of us have got land in our own families, and we want to do something with that land. We don't want to just leave it idle. So I think a number of us in the team, myself, Nan included, and others, actually went through the process of planting, on the land, bringing in laborers, bringing in a team, and trying to do something successfully. But I think what we found, particularly where we were not able to necessarily get the amount of time and traction and the presence that is required, with agriculture, is many of these farms that we actually started, they failed. So essentially,
Okay.
what we notice is that there's a business plan for people who are interested to get into agriculture. They don't necessarily have the time, or they don't necessarily want to get their hands dirty, but they want to work with trusted people, people who are accredited,
Right.
people who have got a good track record. And essentially, that's what we decided to come together to establish, GrowForMe.
Okay. That's wonderful. So tell me, how does one get involved with GrowForMe? Maybe view of how the process works, for everybody to understand, because it's a new concept.
All right, so yeah, I mean, essentially, Nana and the team, the tech team, Fred as well, have done a fantastic job in creating this portal whereby you can go onto the website, you could look at what crops are available. It's very straightforward. You could take a look at the yield when the farming date starts, and then the options for when the harvest takes place, and essentially just go through step by step, very straightforward process. Choose your crop, choose how much you would like to sponsor on the system, and then your payment method, and then of course go through the process of signing the contract, which is all online on an online portal. And then really through that, you get to see and visualize the farming process from start to finish, and you get to really see all the different phases involved. And it's also like an educational and learning experience for the end user as well. So that really is our goal, just making farming easy to the layman.
How do you recruit your farmers?
Yeah, so the farmer recruitment process is a very interesting one. First of all, what happens is we look at areas that are very successful in producing large quantities of the commodity that we want to farm. That's either soybeans or maize. Once you identify the top districts, then we move into that district, and with the Agric Extension office there, we're able to identify some farmers that we can fund to grow that particular commodity. Typically, some smallholder farmers can be a bit tricky, so you have to be careful. What we do is to visit the land and to see truly that they have a land that's prepared that can actually grow more. For example, yesterday we were in a situation where we looked at some government irrigated lands where 300 farmers are about to, start cultivating rice, and they're looking for funding to basically do land preparation. So that is typically the process, but that's a very manual process. However, at scale, as we scale this business, because I'm sure there's some people who will be looking at how scalable this model is. What would happen is we would allow entities or organizations that are already organized, like farmer groups that are organized and so on and so forth, to be able to list on our platform and have pictures and evidence of their farms. And using satellite images while in the game, you can be able to look at that area and certainly tell, looking at historical data, that this area is actually an arable land that has been farmed. Then we can go ahead, approve them, and then farm. But currently, for the purpose of quality and building the very strong brand, we manually look through that process.
Okay. Wow. So Augustina Osabute is asking, what's the minimum amount of money required to be a sponsor?
Yeah, so as low as 120 for a crop like, let's say, a crop like soybean, as low as 125 cedis, you should be able to sponsor a farm. And in dollars, that would just be about what, $25, I think. I think
Wow,
so.
so a very minimum amount to enter.
Very, very little amount.
Okay. Okay. And I have another question here about, if someone owns a land and they want to utilize that land, they have acres of land, they want to utilize that. Are they able to work with you guys to make that happen, or they have to actually invest through you, and then you basically figure out what land you're going to farm from?
So we are not in the business of farming on lands, just any land.
Mm-hmm.
We are in the business of funding farmers who have been farming successfully at a particular area to grow more. So if you have a piece of land, we cannot come in and just farm, because there's a couple of things that happen before you even farm on a land. You must look at the type of land, the type of soil, the topography, the rain patterns, and find out whether those crops have been doing well in that particular area for a while before you even start farming. So it's not just about having a land. And we get a lot of those calls that I have a land, why don't you farm on it? We rather fund farmers who've been farming on a particular land for a period of time and have evidence of production.
Okay. Okay. So one of the issues that and I had a conversation with someone today about this, that he believes the biggest issues in Ghana has to do with irrigation and mechanization, when it comes to farming, because those are, usually the reasons why we're not farming on a large scale. Do you see those as the issues? And then do you think GrowForMe is a concept that's basically going to overcome these issues?
Absolutely. I mean, one of the reasons why historically Africa has not been able to produce enough to feed its people and export is primarily because it's not been able to rapidly adapt technology. And when we talk about technology, it's not just a computer. It includes mechanizations and using tools and implements. So yes, mechanization can actually help leapfrog production, but includes irrigation. And some of these large-scale projects, a lot of people have not had a platform or a way or an opportunity to fund it. What you typically see in a lot of African countries is governments going for loans from China or the US to put in some of these infrastructure. But with the platform we built now, individuals can participate in it. Currently, we started with very short cycles. But in future, as we roll out our trade and infrastructure crowdfunding option, individuals can fund long-term projects like a processing plant, like an irrigation setup. And these things cost a lot of money, but they need patient capital to enable proper establishment and growth. So yes, mechanization a farm, but that doesn't just happen. It needs money to allow people to buy tractors, buy the implements, and then mechanize the farms. And finally, smallholder farmers tend to be scattered. So to be able to mechanize, you need to bring the smallholder farmers together and have what we call a block farm. And in a block farm, you can have a long stretch of land where a tractor plows, a tractor plants, a tractor, puts in the fertilizer and then the insecticides or the pesticides. A tractor does the harvesting, or a combined harvester does the harvesting. We need this kind of setup. So GrowForMe is being a platform that allows the funds to be raised, and being a platform that connects with existing experts on the field, like tractor tractors and so on, would enable this to be possible in the medium term.
Okay. Okay. All right. Kwame, can you share with us what areas in Ghana have you cultivated already? What regions are you focusing on? Are you all across the country, or you've selected some few regions?
Yeah, good question. We're actually all across Ghana. From the northeast down to sort of Ashanti region, Brongahafo, And as Nana mentioned, we're looking into the Volta region for rice production, and then of course here in Accra. So, when you look at all the different types of crops that we actually produce, you'll actually realize that, so for example, pineapples grow predominantly in the south of Ghana. And then we have a lot of maize in the middle belt, Savannah region, and then soya in the north. So we're spread all across Ghana. And really, the goal is to continue to grow and then eventually to grow across borders.
Okay. Can you also share with us the type of crops that you've been planting so far?
Right, excellent. So, I mean, essentially, the types of crops that we choose are typically the crops which are the Ghana Commodity Exchange. So the crops which are in high demand, like, you have maize, we have soya beans, and then we have pineapple as well, just through strategic, connections and partnerships that we've established. And we're looking to grow in crops like rice, which is, of course, a very major staple crop, for sustainability and food production, and then also pepper as well. But we continue to research with, the team of our agronomists to look at, what is new and really where the demand and opportunity is. But these at the moment are the key crops that we currently sponsor.
Okay. Nana, can you give us any idea if you're ever going to go into cash crops? Cocoa farming is huge in Ghana. Receive about 2.5 billion annually from cocoa. So are cash crops anything that attracts or is focusing on the food?
Absolutely, cash crops is on our radar. I mean, it happens in the cash crop space. What we're currently doing around cash crops is looking at the unit economics. You see, the unit economics for cash crops is quite different from cereals and short-term cycle crops like maize. Cash crops typically would take a couple of years to be established and then to begin to bear fruit, and it takes 20, 30 years to continually bring you returns. So it's a bit different from our existing short cycle crop. So what we are still doing is looking at the numbers and structuring so that if anyone comes on our platform, he understands that, okay, this is cocoa. It's going to take me 5 years or 3 years to make my first return. And he understands that if I fund a cocoa tree, one cocoa tree is going to cost me, say, for example, 2,000 cedis to set up. For example, 2,000 cedis to get it to a point where it begins to produce. And he's willing to wait, to put his money down and wait for 2 years before he begins to get anything paid out to him as the harvest goes in. However, that said, what we are doing with the cash crops now is to trade. So what trade happens, when I say trade, what that means is that we raise money, we buy the harvest, and we sell. So in cashew, we buy from farmers that already have cashew, and we can supply to off-takers or buyers. And in the case of cocoa, they already established LBCs, licensed cocoa buyers, and those organizations tend to need funding quite early to buy the cocoa. The syndicated loan from Cocoa Board and from government sometimes delays and takes time to come to them. So where we come in, we'll be able to crowdfund early and make that funding available to the licensed cocoa buyers to buy the cocoas from the farmer, so that when the syndicated loan from the government is available, they can pay us back with some top up or profit share on the sale of the cocoa. Cocoa has been there for a long time. The market is quite predictable. The growth rate is also quite predictable. And the next phase of cash crops like cocoa and cashew is that there's a big drive by government to see more people grow these cash crops. So across the country, the government is bringing support for people who want to go into cashew production or cocoa production. And that's where we will be looking at crowdfunding as an alternative source of financing for farmers to begin to produce cash crops.
Okay. All right. You mentioned the government. So is there any form of partnership or some type of, assistance that you're able to get from the government of Ghana? I mean, what you're doing is basically fulfilling the agenda for, of government, ensuring that there is food sufficiency, ensuring that people, the youth are getting employed in recruitment. So are they supporting you in any way? Is there any sort of partnership?
Yes. So The government of Ghana is one of the amazing governments in the world when it comes to agriculture. Ghana's successive governments have always placed core value on agriculture, and just recently they established the crops authority and so on. We do have strategic relationships. I will not use the word partnership because it has a very specific meaning. We have a relationship with and actually introductions, official introductions from the crops department of the Ministry of Food and Agriculture to all district Ministry of Food and Agriculture district offices across the country, introducing our business to them and how we are innovating the value chain financing process. So whenever we go to any district and whenever we mention and we talk about our business and show the letters from the Ministry of Food and Agriculture's crop department, it's an easy breeze to work with them. The other thing government has done, which is not just peculiar to us, but anyone in the production space or crop production space, is subsidizing fertilizer. And that is a very significant thing, close to about 50% of the cost of fertilizer. And what that does is that it reduces the cost of production. Fertilizer, the key ingredients to increase the production and quantities of any crop.
Yeah.
And then finally, when you talk about government, you're talking about the Ghana Commodity Exchange. You cannot talk about agriculture and without talking about commodity exchange. The government has strategically made it possible that this year, the commodity exchange is really coming out to life. It's really active. It's really putting things out there. And I'm excited to say that our company was the first company to trade rice on the Ghana Commodity Exchange. And currently, we've been trading soybean on the exchange. We are gearing up to, in future, very soon, to also trade light cocoa when it's available. So all these government initiatives and the government warehousing structures across the country allows us a seamless infrastructure to basically scale. Let me make it more simple. Uber cannot work if roads don't exist and people do not have cars and the country does not have fuel. Uber would be pointless because there will be no car, no roads, and no fuel. Exactly. But because there are cars, there are roads, and there's fuel, the Uber app has meaning and can create jobs for people. In our space, the infrastructure is warehousing, fertilizers, and then commodity exchange trading facilities. These things is the infrastructure on which our technology runs, because then when we go and buy a commodity, we need to be able to trade it at best market price on a very recognized market. So I would say, yes, the government has been very key in introducing us to various districts and also providing an opportunity for us to use the infrastructures available.
Okay, that's great. That's great. You mentioned fertilizer, and there's another company that I'll be bringing on the show probably in the next 2 weeks. The company's name is Apex 10. Apex 10. I'm not sure if you've heard of them. It's another gentleman from the US who moved to Ghana and is very big. This company basically produces fertilizers for farmers in Ghana, and their tagline is "Making Farming Sexy Again." And Apex 10, you'll be hearing from them very soon. And I think they're doing some amazing work in Ghana using the type of fertilizers that they are given. So I may introduce you to them, considering the fact that you utilize fertilizer quite a bit in your work. So, I'll be talking to you offline about that. So the name of the company is Apex 10, Apex 10. And also you did say, basically, the government is creating the enabling environment for you guys to come in and do the work that you're doing. So there is that kind of a relationship there, which is great, and that's what we want to see. That the environment is created for private entities to come in and be able to do work that benefits the entire population. So thank you for going into that. Are you able to tell me if you're able to farm throughout the year? Because in Ghana, we know there are farming seasons and whatnot. Based on the variety of crops that you have, are you able to farm across the year?
Yeah, absolutely. Ghana is blessed with a very amazing ecological landscape. Down south, middle, and then upper side. In the down south, you have two major seasons. You have the main season and you have the lean season. So you can plant in the major season and you can plant in the lean season. And similar to from down south, close to the middle portion, towards Asate region, you can do 2 seasons. But once you go up north, when it becomes quite dry, you can typically do one cycle one main cycle. However, when you introduce irrigation to those places, and by the way, the northern part has vast lands for large scale agriculture, then you can actually farm twice in a year. But without any form of irrigation, typically down south you can do 2 cycles, and up north you can do 1 cycle.
All right. I know you've been able to give updates to your sponsors about the progress of the farms that they've sponsored, and you utilize drones for some of these updates. How are you able to incorporate drones, and how has that helped you in gaining the confidence of the sponsors? Because if someone is in the UK and sponsoring a farm in Ghana, they tend to worry if their investment is actually being utilized in the right way. So have you seen, and is this helping with them being apprised through these drone images, and seeing the farm? Let's say the farm is in the north, be able to see in real time what's happening on the farm.
Yes, absolutely. I won't say real time, because we currently wouldn't be able to do real time farm monitoring.
Okay.
What you can do is periodic farm monitoring updates, and what we've heavily used has been satellite images and on-field pictures. We did use drone images internally. We've not yet made that kind of information available to sponsors. We used our drones in our soybean farm when we were up north to see how the vegetation was doing. And it was quite an amazing experience.
Okay.
The satellite image is actually a bit more cheaper. You don't have to move. You need to basically sit from your office, access the satellite images, and then query them. In our past farms, we initially were using another platform that gave us internal information, but was not consistently updating sponsors. And what we've done is to be able to discover other platforms like EOS that consistently gives us updates. So now we have literally 2 platforms so that we have redundancy. And sponsors have now very soon going to get access to all these images to see what's happening. So drones, yes, they are great, but the limiting factor of drones is you need to be physically present to be able to fly within that area where you want to. And we do have them. We've tested it. It's great. It gives amazing shots and more finer details. The next phase of use of drones for us is to have drones that have special cameras that allows us to see different infrared layers, so that we can predict much more to a certain extent what the health of the crops are. Plugging that into existing AI applications, we can predict what kind of disease and pests that are infesting the crops, and automatically suggest recommendations. So as the company grows and scales and we raise the needed funding, we can deploy our drone teams for regions. So we can have our regional monitoring teams in every region. When I say region, we've divided into 3 sections. We have monitoring managers. So each monitoring manager can have a drone which he can use whenever he does his field inspection. So as we grow and we raise the needed investment, we can use drone technology more. We have clear lines of actions on which we want to use drone for, and we look forward to expanding on that.
Okay, great. We're getting some comments and questions from our audience. So I'm going to show some of them, and we'll go through, to answer some few of these questions. The first one is from Eriko Usu, and he's asking, are you partnering with research organizations like the FEED and the Future Innovation Labs or IFAD?
So some I've never heard of them. I'll be very happy to get introductions to them.
Okay.
For example, GIZ Innovation Lab, we have Airbus Satellite Accelerator. We've been through that. That's been great. So we do not have access to all of these organizations. We will continue to build them. If you have a connection with any of them, we'll be very happy to get an introduction to see how we can collaborate.
Okay, great. So Kevin Quay is also asking, so does it mean that once you sponsor a farm, you are automatically a partner of GrowForMe, as you have in your KYC and other account process?
So being a sponsor on GrowForMe, basically on the contracts you have there, makes you a sponsor. That's what it makes you. We have clear partnership agreements that are separate from being a sponsor.
Great.
The level as a sponsor, you have rights to introduce others for a 5 CD commission, and that's really low. That's basically like maybe PayPal giving you $1 for introducing someone, something similar to that. But we have clear level of partnerships, which gives a clear line of reward to people who invite other people to sponsor on our platforms. And that would clearly define as a partner. But if you sponsor, you are defined as a sponsor. Using the word loosely, usually using the word partner. Yes, you are a partner loosely. But it's important to be very clear that sponsoring a crop does not mean having equity in the farm or in GrowForMe. Okay. And also, as our risk policy states, sponsoring a farm or a crop puts, as a sponsor, you are open to the risk that any farmer goes through. Hence, that means you can actually lose your sponsorship on that farm if the farm fails. But what we do to mitigate that is, once again, crop insurance, working with good farmers, putting extension officers there, and so on and so forth.
Okay, great. We have another question here. Andy Jones is asking, if someone is having an interest to engage in any agricultural business in Ghana, does GrowForMe have any support or guidelines, services to assist one to make the transition, especially for those individuals who reside outside Ghana?
Yes, GrowForMe has experts and quite a network of experts in the field. Kwame, our advisor and a co-founder on this call, is actually an investor in the space and will be a very great person to talk to if you want to start your own farm and not farm through GrowForMe. He's had a real experiences he can share. We have experts like Professor Bunny, Professor Irene, connections to the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, that we can point you in the right direction so that you can build your case. But once again, because we don't want you to go through this kind of stress and work, that's why we exist. We exist to make it seamless for you. And as we would say, you can farm without getting your hands dirty. And in future, like we would say, you can farm, trade, and build without getting your hands dirty. So that's why we exist.
Great. Absolutely. And I think I'll just also add there, Fred, that, you know, one of the things I've seen sponsors find very rewarding is if they do come to Ghana, they actually have the opportunity to come along with us and visit their farms and get a bit more education about the farms and how things work. And that's always enlightening. Yeah.
Great. That's very good. That's very good. And I have another question here. Augustina Osabute is asking, how assured can a sponsor be with regards to money security, considering what's happening in Ghana with the financial sector, like banks and company closures? I believe you mentioned you have insurance, but you can kind of go into that.
Yes. So first of all, I must be very clear and precise, as it's on our website, that we do not guarantee returns of this principal or the returns if you farm on GrowForMe or you literally have a farm. We do not guarantee that, because farming in itself is risky, and we have to be very upfront about that. I've explained several times there, and I'll once again reiterate the mitigation factors we put in place, like crop insurance, working with experienced farmers, working in districts that have been more successful, having extension officers. But none of these incentives or inputs guarantee a success of the farm. That is number one. Number two, in terms of Ghana as an economy, Ghana has been one of the best performing economies in West Africa. So if you fund anything in Ghana, you are better off funding within Ghana than anywhere. That's a fact. You can look at the Moody's index and so on and so forth. Secondly, because we are an organization that thrives on crowdfunding and making sure the funding partner gets to see a return on the sponsorship, we do as much as possible to ensure the success of the farm. For example, our first farm, sponsors got about 22% on their return. Second farm, about 24% on their principal, sorry. The third farm did fail, okay? And what we did was to tell sponsors that, hey, we want to farm again in the major season so that we can get returns and pay you back. And that's what we did out of our understanding about the value of sponsors. But so far as our T's and C's are concerned, we do not guarantee a return of your sponsorship if you fund a farm, because every farmer, whether you farm yourself or you farm through another farmer, is open to all the risk. Now, finally, let me explain a little bit on the crop insurance. So the crop insurance in agriculture is not like your your vehicular crop insurance, your vehicle insurance. For example, if you insure your car for $100,000, you get paid $100,000 when it crashes. In the farming business, insurance does not work that way. You typically make 1/3 or half of your insurance returns because the insurance is spread over the different phases of the crop cycle: the planting stage, the maturity stage, the tasseling stage, the fruiting stage, and so on and so forth. So depending on how each stage is performing, you may have a certain level of payout at each stage. So it's not a direct return like you would have on a house insurance or a car insurance. And it's very important to explain that this is way better than just going to do your own farm, which is more risky, or giving money to a farmer you have no idea who he is.
Okay. You mentioned that there's really no, I mean, the minimum requirement to really get into this is about $25, for the average person. Obviously, we want more people and people to really increase their sponsorship, because the more they put in, the more we can produce, right? So, and also, the more profit that you make, the more money you invest, the more profit that you can potentially make. So, this is really an excellent idea. Many of us want to go into farming, but because we're now on the ground, we're not able to do that. And the fact that there's a company that's able, it's on the ground and it's working with farmers and, giving us the opportunity to crowdfund and get involved, I think it's a great idea. So, personally, I will encourage everyone who's looking into investing. If they tell you if you invest, you have to diversify, right? So you may be in the stock market, you may be doing, Bitcoin or anything like that. Here's another opportunity for anyone to get into farming and, make profit and also help feed your people, so it's a great idea. Gentlemen, we're coming to the end of the show, but any final words, Kwame? Anything that you want to share with us, and then Nana?
Yeah, sure. I think just, for me in conclusion, one of the reasons I really love this project and what we do, and one of the personal beliefs I have is going into the 21st century and beyond. I believe that a business's responsibility is not just to generate profit, but also for community development and also for society and the environment. And here you have a business where you can generate income and revenue for yourself. You create employment for the communities in Ghana and in Africa eventually. And then you're also contributing to food stability and security, which is really important going into the next decade. So, really just looking at all these 3 points. And, one of the stats that we see is that in Africa, one job created supports about 20 different people. So we just look at the, hundreds of farmers that we're employing today and, through the sponsors, and I really just, about the impact that we're having on the ground and what we're creating. So really that's my feedback and my word to everyone.
Great. Thank you, Kwame. I appreciate it. Nana, any final words for us, please?
Same as Kwame said, when you sponsor a crop, you touch 20 lives. You create jobs for over 20 people. And I can list you through the process from production to planting to spraying to harvesting, threshing, bagging, transporting, and I can list it all. You touch real lives. It's one of the businesses when you fund, you're really making a real difference as much as creating returns. And I strongly believe that that's one of the unique things we have. You can invest in Bitcoin, you can invest in PayPal, in Tesla. These are great companies and these have great share values and market capitalizations. But one thing you are sure of is when you sponsor a farm on GrowForMe, you're really touching a life or lives of Africans. And there's nothing compared to building your own. And that's what I want to leave everyone with. So I just want to say that anyone who sponsors a farm from this show, we're going to pay for your farm visit if you are in Ghana. We will cover the cost of the farm visit if you are in Ghana. So just let us know that you were on this show and you sponsored because of GAJ report, and we'll be happy to take you to the farm when you're here.
That is great. So viewers, you heard it. If you mention GAJ, there is something in there for you. You get, they will take you around when you visit Ghana. And then, if you mention GAJ, you may get a special discount. Who knows? So just make sure that, you mention our name when you reach out to GrowForMe. And Kwame, can you put the website out for our viewers? We're going to upload a video, but just in case anybody want to check out the website.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, it's www.growforme.com. And
Nice and
you can
easy.
do a simple search on Google if not, but it's growforme.com.
Great. Thank you. Well, there you have it, viewers. Thank you again for joining us. We've been able to have a conversation with the co-founders of GrowForMe. And this business is doing an excellent, playing a very excellent role in bringing the youth into farming again. I mean, we've seen a resurgence in that, and using technology to really multiply our agricultural sector, and it's coming in ways that is really amazing. This is the first part of the show. We'll be doing a second part sometime in March, where we'll bring two gentlemen on who are also in their own way making a difference in the agricultural sector. And I mentioned the fertilizer by Apex 10, which is making a real difference. And also we're going to talk about artificial intelligence and digitization in the farming sector. So again, Nana and Kwame, thank you for joining us. And viewers, thank you for listening to us. I hope you can share this. We'll put the information out on YouTube, and it will be on our website as well. Please share this information with everyone, and definitely invest in Ghana. Invest in our country, invest in our people. It's an excellent way to do it. So thank you again for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen, and have a good evening.